Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I decided to use a Shadow Gliscor team in the Ultra League. It's a very strong pick, having both flying and ground type damage. It's very similar to how Shadow Gligar plays in the Great League meta, a great core breaker to the fighters and the steel types, but it does have a little bit of a problem. It's a bit more bait reliant than the Gligars, because you have Earthquake rather than Dig. It takes a lot more wing attacks to get to that move, but it is still a great Pokemon. I paired it here with our Poliwrath and the Shadow Charizard as well today, so this team is very weak to the Tapu Finis and the Jellicents, but I think this team does have a lot of play aside from those matchups. This is definitely more of a for fun team rather than a try-hard team. I just wanted to see what this team could do here today. A little bit ABA weak to the electro types as well, so a couple weaknesses, but this team overall very fun. It can deal with all the steel types that you're going to see, so let's take a look at the battles. All right, let's get into game number one and see what we can get up to here with our Poliwrath in the lead against a Giratina. This is a very neutral matchup. Obviously, we are doing very little damage with our fast moves because it is a fighting type Pokemon into a ghost type here, but luckily Icy Wind is a very strong attack. We have the ability to start debuffing their attack stat with it and doing super effective damage. Even though it is non-stab, it's still going to do quite a bit, probably put them into 3-shot range, and good Poliwraths actually can win the Zero Shield matchup here. They're going to be able to spam up moves a lot quicker than we can, but their moves are going to do less and less damage every time we throw these Icy Winds here, so I'm very happy at this point just to kind of whittle this thing down, make it so our backline's not going to have to deal with this, because Shadow Gliscor and Shadow Charizard both are not the best matchups here for this Giratina. So what we want to do is we want to just try to chip this thing down, make it so we can't deal with this with our backline, and make it so maybe we have a setup for either Shadow Gliscor to get a farm down, or maybe our Shadow Charizard if we want to do that way either. I think that our backline should have play once this Giratina is gone. We can get to yet another move here. They throw theirs. I think after 2 debuffs, though, I should survive this. What I actually want to do, though, is I think I want to store this energy, come in with my Gliscor, get an energy lead there, and they're double debuff. Do they want to throw a move here? They might have tried to bank a move here because they built up a lot of energy. They had at least a Dragon Claw loaded, but they ended up just letting it go, and I guess I could see why they didn't really know what to do here. They come in with a Poliwrath. That makes you wonder, if they come in with a Poliwrath into our flying type, what could they possibly have in the back? Is it double fighter? Is it maybe something else that could actually beat the Charmers here? It might be a poison type if that's the case, or a steel type. Maybe a Registeel as well could be a very common pick to see. So if that is the case, I think our Gliscor is going to have a lot of play. Hopefully I can shield this and farm it down. Looks like they swap out before I get that chance, but it is a poison type. Alright, so this is their Charmander. It is going to be an Alolan Muck. Luckily, this is a Pokemon that doesn't have a lot of fast move pressure into us. They don't even charge up energy too quickly here with Poison Jab, so I get a bait off, and now after that bait, I know I can shield this up, go for the Earthquake, and basically knock out this Muck with my Gliscor. They go for the Dark Pulse here. Obviously, they could go for an Acid Spray bait, but that wouldn't really help them out too much. They wouldn't get to 2 moves anyway. I have already reached the Earthquake here. This is going to do so much damage, and it's looking like a Gliscor sweep here in game number 1. We've knocked out 2 Pokemon already. That Poliwrath in the back, not going to be able to do too much to us, and we take the game with our Shadow Gliscor, not even needing to have our Shadow Charizard in that match. Alright, our next game here against a Shadow Dragonite lead, another Dragon type, but this one is actually, I think, a little bit more scary just because they have a lot more offensive pressure with these Shadow Dragon Breaths. Obviously, they throw a move before we throw the Icy Wind. Very good play by them, but I know I can survive this. This is Ultra League. This is not our Great League matchup where our Poliwrath would basically be knocked out by now. We have the Icy Wind. We can throw it and make sure we do as much damage or get a shield from them as possible, and once this shield goes down, I think that my Gliscor is going to be able to just swap in, take these debuff Dragon Breaths. I'm probably still going to want to shield a move here, because if I don't shield this, I'm going to be pretty low, put myself down into fast move range, so shielding that I think is still a good play. We have the move loaded now on our Gliscor. We can throw the Aerial Ace. If they let this go, we probably knock them out. If they shield it, then we'll have both shields down on their end, but they do just let that move go. What are they going to come in with here in the back line? It is actually going to be a Feraligatr. I'm seeing this, I'm kind of thinking there might be like a double water team in the back, or it could be a Registeel. Those are 2 very common picks that you could see here with that Shadow Dragonite lead. We land an Aerial Ace, and as you can see, that does so much damage. Even though this is Ultra League, it's shadow into shadow. These Pokemon are very offensive, so I can shield this if I wanted, but I still have my Poliwrath around. I can probably absorb energy there and set my Shadow Charizard up for a nice late game sweep. I could also bring my Zard in here if I wanted to, and try to go for these Dragon Tails, or Dragon Claws rather, but I feel like the play is just to drain energy, try to get a full farm down against this Gator here with our Shadow Charizard, and hopefully still win this game by just getting this farm down before they get to another move. At the last second, we get that wing attack down. What is their third Pokemon going to be? It is a Registeel. We have the Blast Burns loaded. That is not going to have any play into our team here. And getting into the next matchup here against the Pokemango, a fantastic player, a fellow streamer, and also a Worlds competitor, someone who's going to be competing in Hawaii in just over a week's time. It's going to be a lot of fun to see him there, see what he brings. But in this match, we have the Poliwrath into yet another Dragon-type lead, the Goodra. Luckily, Goodra is probably the best Dragon that we've seen for a Poliwrath so far. They do have Thunder Punch, which is technically super effective, but it's non-stab, it's debuffed 1 stage, it's not going to do that much damage, and we can get to another Icy Wind here. I'm kind of thinking if they're staying in this Goodra into Poliwrath, there's a chance that our Poliwrath has more play in the backline, because this is not a good matchup for Goodra. Why would they stay in this? Maybe it's like a Registeel or something in the back. If that is the case, then say swapping my Shadow Charizard should have a lot of play because we see that Skeleturge is their second Pokemon. If it is that Registeel as the third, I think doing what we're doing here, coming with our Zard, saving our Poliwrath, is going to be a good play. We go for the Dragon Claw bait, which is fantastic for us to see we actually do get that shielded, and now that I see that, I think they are scared of our Shadow Charizard. They're staying in to get a nice bait off against us, but if I can get a Blast Burn at this point, after these wing attacks, they're probably going to be in Blast Burn range. We have the back-to-back loaded here. If they shield us, I have the second one to go. If they no-shield, I still have a lot of energy on Zard. I throw the first, they shield it, I have the second. I think this is going to be enough to knock it out. It's going to be close. It is Ultra League, so bulk is a little bit more on Skeleturge's side, but they are not bulky enough to survive that move. And we still have a shield left over, which means we can get to these two Blast Burns, knock out this Reggie, and this game, Shadow Gliscor is not even going to have to make an appearance. We have the first Blast Burn loaded, basically going to knock them out here. Now we can get to another move. They realize not much they can do that game. GG's to them. All right, our next opponent, what are we going to see our Poliwrath into? Well, that is a Poliwrath Mirror. Honestly, I don't like playing out this lead too much, but what I want to do is I want to get it chipped down enough where it's going to be in range where an Aerialist could knock them out. Because at this point, this matchup is a decent matchup for us, but we have two Flyers in the back, right? But our Flyers, even though they are good Pokemon in general, they are not actually hard answers to Poliwrath. Scald could knock out our Shadow Charizard, Icy Wind could knock out our Gliscor, so I want to chip it down, make it so I could easily deal with that matchup a little bit more before I swap out. I do get to the move first here. I make sure I wait a turn to make sure a catch doesn't happen here. Are they going to shield up their Poliwrath or just let this go and try to sweep their backline? They end up letting it go, which is a very interesting play, and in comes a Skeleturge here. Alright, well, we don't have Dig on this Pokemon like we would in the Great League with a Gligar, which means our Earthquakes are much slower to be reached. I think going for the double Aerialist is probably going to be the play, but if that doesn't knock out here at Ultra League, they might be able to get both shields for me or just knock out our Gliscor, which could be pretty bad. We get the first ace off. I hope that they shield this, but they let it go, and it looks like at this point they could survive the next one as well. Things are just so much bulkier here in the Ultra League, it makes it a little bit more uncomfortable for matchups like this. I get the next move off, and they no-shield it as well, so they still have a shield advantage. At this point, I don't feel like I can double shield my Shadow Gliscor here. I'm just hoping that my Poliwrath plus my Shadow Charizard will have play into the backline. We saw the third Pokemon come in, and that's another Fire type. I'm kind of thinking at this point we're in a pretty bad spot. If they can Incinerate us down here, they're going to be able to Thunder Punch our Shadow Charizard. They have a shield advantage. I can probably take a shield with an Icy Wind, but these debuffs are not going to do enough, I don't think, to win us this game. They have the next move loaded right now. Oh, well, they have a Thunder Punch loaded. I think they're one off of the double up here, which is really bad for us. And now we are going to be able to throw another Icy Wind. They're trying to go for the farm down, but this is so bad. They're basically at double Thunder Punch at this point. And because of that, I don't think our Shadow Charizard can survive that even after two debuffs. It's kind of unfortunate. We do have a bit of our Poliwrath left over, though. If we can survive two moves, get a farm down, maybe there's a chance. But look how much damage that does. Can we survive this move? I don't think so. It's going to be really close here. The Thunder Punch comes through, but we survive on 1 HP. They come back in with Skeleturge. I try to go for the farm down, but we don't quite get it. I get the counter through with our Poliwrath here. If I would have thrown that Dragon Claw, I could have had my Shadow Charizard still alive. I could have got some more wing attack damage. I think I could have won that game, but they took it. Very nice energy management on their Fire types there in the backline. Alright, next game against a Feraligatr lead, but then they instantly swap out to a Cresselia. We don't have a hard answer to this. You might consider Shadow Charizard to be a hard answer, but you have to keep in mind, most of the time here, they are actually running Future Sight nowadays. What that means is Shadow Charizard is going to be 2-shot, or maybe even 1-shot if they land that move and get a lot of fast move pressure against us, so I don't really want to bring that in there. What I ended up doing, though, is I got a debuff with Icy Wind against that, because at this point, I'm not super concerned about this matchup with our Cresselia here. I just want to kind of whittle it down as much as possible. Go for the Earthquake. If they shield, I guess that's fine, because now we'll have a shield advantage for our Shadow Charizard, but if they let that go, I would have been obviously a little bit happier. We can get the Aerialist off before they can knock us out. They obviously do have Future Sight here, so probably for the best that I did not come in with our Charizard into this matchup. I can't get to another Earthquake, but I can get this ace off, easily put them in range where a Scald or potentially a Blast Burn could knock them out much more consistently, but at this point I'm thinking maybe just invest into our Shadow Charizard. That could be the best play here. That Feraligatr in the back is a strong answer to our Shadow Charizard, but it's not going to be able to just sweep us, so I think that keeping shields for that is going to be good. And we just saw their full moveset. They're actually running Moonblast and Future Sight, a crazy moveset here in the Ultra League, not even running Grass Knot, but I guess it's working out for them. We go for the Scald, and now we have two shields for our Shadow Charizard. In the back is a Poliwrath, and then they swap in immediately to their Feraligatr. This is an interesting matchup here. Obviously, Shadow Charizard has a lot of fast move pressure. I don't know, though. Can I go for a Blast Burn here, two shield through this Feraligatr, and basically just go for a Blast Burn, farm them all the way down before they get to 3 moves? I don't know for sure, but Blast Burn is very powerful. Shadow Charizard is very powerful. That is a lot of damage that goes through there. We're going to shield this up, try to go for the full farm down. If there is any chance we can win this game, it will be with a lot of energy on Shadow Charizard, trying to do what it can to sweep this backline. That Poliwrath is going to come back in here. We obviously have a lot of energy. They're probably going to shield this up, but I want to guarantee the fact that I'm going to be able to get a Blast Burn off here. I'm almost at the second. I know they can't get the second move off, but I can bank this energy. I can try to catch a move. We don't quite get the catch off here, but that's totally fine. Now they have to throw throw energy against us here, I can make the play based on what they throw. They go for the full-on Scald, so that's a lot of energy that they had to use. I can overfarm a little bit more, hopefully get up to the 2 Dragon Claws, and just guarantee the win. A Blast Burn might be enough here, but I have the double Dragon Claw. I know for sure I can get these 2 moves off before they can counter us down. 1 Dragon Claw comes through, the next is going to be more than enough. Shadow into Shadow, Dragon Claw is going to do more than enough damage to win us this game. GG's to them. Poliwrath into Tentacruel, a very neutral matchup here. Might expect this to be a huge core breaker for the Poliwrath plus the Shadow Charizard, but you have to keep in mind, we're both doing only resisted charge moves to each other, so I can also guarantee these debuffs. I have Icy Wind. They have to go for Scalds. If they don't get a Scald debuff, this matchup is actually not that bad for Poliwrath. I get the first move off, and it obviously is going to debuff because we throw the Icy Wind. They're probably going to go for the Scald here. Most are running Scald plus Blizzard, so if they're not running Acid Spray or Sledge Wave, we're in a great spot. They don't get the debuff on that Scald, and you can see the damage is kind of pacing pretty evenly here. We obviously do go down into the yellow first, but that's because I threw an Icy Wind first. I can go for the Scald now, kind of keep up in pace with these damages that they're throwing against me, and since they're debuffed and I'm not, we're actually kind of in a decent spot here. As long as they can't fully farm us down, have a move for either our Shadow Charizard or our Shadow Gliscor in the back, I'm going to be in a good position. They do get the attack drop there, which is a little bit concerning. Probably means that they can guarantee the switch advantage this game, because I don't think I can counter them down now, but it probably also means that they're going to have to throw energy here if they want to be able to guarantee this matchup, which they do. So they don't get that farm down. That's what we want to see. Our backline doesn't like this Pokemon, so neutralizing it in the lead is going to hopefully be good for our backline Pokemon. We get 2 wing attacks with Shadow Gliscor. What is their backline? How much play are we going to have? In comes a Mandibuzz. Alright, well, not the best thing to see, but there's a potential chance that we have play here. Not running Night Slash is a huge boon for this matchup. If we had Night Slash and Earthquake, we'd have no charge move pressure. Luckily, Aerial Ace, it's not the best move, but at least it does some damage here. They go for a Dark Pulse. I think they can 2-shot us with Dark Pulse at this point, at least after the fast move pressure that they've got onto us, and I don't think that we really want to just try to rely on Shadow Charizard completely at this point, but we might have to. It's kind of tricky. What could they have in the back with a Tentacruel plus a Mandibuzz? Probably something in the back that could beat the Electrics, the Steel types like Registeel. We'll have to see what they have, though. I have a bit of health here on our Shadow Gliscor. We barely hang on, and we do get off this final move, so it's going to come down to their third Pokemon to see how much play we could have this game. I think they can get to a move here against our Shadow Charizard, which is a little bit unfortunate. I'll have to shield this up, but we do have a Dragon Claw loaded now. There's a chance there's a fighter in the back to deal with the Registeels. If that is the case, and it is, our Shadow Charizard has a little bit of play now. With that said, our Shadow Charizard is so squishy. They go for a Night Slash. They know it's going to do a lot of damage. These counters have already added up quite a bit, but I have to no shield. I know that's not a Shadow Ball, so no shielding the first move I think is going to be the play for us here, and I go for the Dragon Claw myself. Dragon Claw does not quite get the knockout there, but I think since they no shield that, they obviously made the call that I wasn't going to go for the Blast Burn there, and that no shield means that I have to go all the way for the farm down. I don't throw my energy, and then we wing attack down the Mandibuzz. A very close endgame. GG's to our opponent. Alright, the next game, Poliwrath lead into the Annihilape. Alright, not a great lead, but we have 2 flyers in the back, so if I can get any shields down, then there's a better chance that we might be able to win this game. In comes the Alolan Sandslash, so definitely not what we want to see here, but we can just kind of sack our Gliscor at this point. I don't like how this matchup's playing out, but we can get a decent farm down with our Poliwrath, make it so hopefully we can get some sort of shields from that Annihilape, or maybe our Shadow Charizard is going to have play in the back once this Alolan Sandslash is out of the way. They have the ability to get to a move here, and even if they do, though, it's a drill run, right? Poliwrath, very bulky, it's going to be able to survive this, probably have over half health after they throw this move, but we'll be just under half by the time they get these Shadow Claws in, and by the time we counter them down. They're probably going to come back in with that Annihilape. I have the Scald loaded. It really just comes down to the backline at this point. Am I going to have any play against what's in the back? I hope I will, but it's kind of going to be tricky here for our Shadow Charizard to have a lot of play. We do see that they throw energy here. I'm going to have to let this go. I'm going to hope that this is a Night Slash. If it is, I might be able to survive. If not, they are going to dump a lot of energy. It is a Shadow Ball. We do get knocked out there, but in comes the Shadow Feraligatr. Alright, well, Shadow Charizard has a lot of work to do, but there is the slimmest of chances. If they let this Dragon Claw through, I might be able to 2-shield through here, farm this all the way down, and I might have play against that Annihilape still in the backline. Since they let that through, I'm not going to throw any more charge moves this game. I'm going to go all the way for fast attacks. Every time I throw a charge move, I'd give them 1 free Shadow Claw, make it so they have 1 less move that they'd have to get against us to get to a charge attack. So we're going to go for the fast moves, and now have a ton of energy loaded against that Annihilape. We have the 2 Dragon Claws here, go for the first one. We also know their energy dry here, which means I can overfarm just a little bit more, get as much wing attack damage as I can, put them into Dragon Claw range. They are now in Dragon Claw range. We have the back-to-back moves, go for the first. Even if they shield this up, I have the second one loaded. I can throw it, just spam out these moves against this Annihilape and take the matchup there against the Shadow Feraligatr in the back. Shadow Charizard just sweeping the game here. Love to see it. GG's to them. All right, next matchup against the Greedent lead. A fantastic lead for us. Our whole team has played into Greedent, but obviously Poliwrath is our best spot to be in against that, and they safe swap a Giratina. We don't have a hard answer to this, but I can go for the debuff here. Hopefully debuff it and make it so it's not going to be quite as difficult for our back lane to deal with. Icy Wind is going to do a lot of damage. It's going to lower their attack stat and make it so this Giratina is kind of useless against either our Shadow Gliscor or our Shadow Charizard. This time I choose to come in with our Gliscor. This Giratina could have access to Ancient Power, so if it did, and even if I debuffed them, it wouldn't really be that impactful if they did have Ancient Power, just one-shot our Shadow Charizard, which is why I come in here with our Shadow Gliscor instead. We can go for the Earthquake. I don't think they're going to shield this up. Even if they do, I think we're still in a decent spot here, and they do just let it go. At this point, if that Greedent does come back in, I think I'm outside of range where I'd actually get knocked out by a single Body Slam. They'd probably have to throw 2 here, which means that I can probably get to an Earthquake if they want to play it out that way, and I do get to the Earthquake. That is a catastrophic catch. They catch my Earthquake on a Mandibuzz. That might be a game-changing play here. They can probably overfarm quite a bit as well before I can swap out. And now I've lost an Earthquake of energy. This Mandibuzz has energy itself. That Greedent has energy. I don't know if I can win this one now. This is going to be very tough to deal with. I have my Poliwrath, which is a decent core breaker to both that Greedent plus this Mandibuzz, but I need this bait to go through. I go for the Dragon Claw, and they no-shield it. Man, they've just been outplaying me this game here so far. We were in a great spot at the start, but after that catch, I think that we might be on the back foot here. We go for another Dragon Claw. They no-shield it yet again. This trainer is crazy, calling every single bait that we have here. This is, actually, I don't even think that was a bait at that point. I think I just went straight Dragon Claw because I do need damage against this. But this is so bad for us because they have so much energy on this Greedent. They swap in here. That Mandibuzz has energy as well. I don't know how I'm going to win this one. Greedent is going to just start spamming out these Body Slams. Our Poliwrath will be able to survive 1 here, but they're probably going to be able to get to 2 before we can even get to an Icy Wind, which is catastrophic as well, because that means that our Icy Wind is not going to be able to debuff them. Can I shield this? I don't think so. They have an Aerial Ace, or at least they could get to an Aerial Ace on their Mandibuzz, so I have to let this through. I can get this Icy Wind now, but they just have so much health. This is not super effective. This would not one-shot them, but they also have 2 shields this game. I can come in with my Gliscor now, but I don't know what I can do. I keep saying this, but it's true. They've just kind of danced around me so much here. They go for the overfarm as well. They have some energy here. They have energy on their Mandibuzz as well. A Body Slam might not knock us out here, but I know it doesn't really matter. We've been chipped down so low on both our Poliwrath and our Shadow Gliscor. We are both hanging on a thread here, and even though our opponents are low in health, I think they just have enough in the tank here to win the game. They're going to go for the Body Slam. They knock us out. They come back in with their Mandibuzz. It is so healthy at this point. If I can counter this down, maybe there's a chance this game. I'm going to have to try to fast move everything down this game. They have Mudshot damage on their Greedent. They have Snarl damage on their Mandibuzz. Both very low damaging moves, but if I can get the counter down, which I just barely can't, there might have still been a chance. It was a very close matchup. They made fantastic reads. They made a fantastic catch and 2 great bait calls that game. Not much you can really be mad about there. Our opponent just outplayed us. And in the next game, against a Shadow Ampharos lead, one of the worst leads we could see, obviously. This is an Electric-type Pokemon. We don't want to see it with either a Poliwrath or a Shadow Charizard, so what we're going to try to do is bait Icy Winds, do as much counter damage as we can, and potentially flip this in the ones. I know the one-shield matchup, if you get a proper bait off here, can actually be winnable for Poliwrath if you have a high rank one. We go for the Icy Wind, we get the bait off, and if we can survive their next Thunder Punch after that debuff, there's a chance we can flip this matchup here in the ones, and if that is the case, maybe this lead isn't as bad as it might look. We do survive that move, we get to the Skull. Unfortunately, they make a nice catch here on their Annihilape. That is not what we want to see. Obviously, Annihilape is something that we have a lot of play into the backline. This move is basically just wasted energy against them at this point, but I can come in with our Shadow Charizard, get a nice farm down, hopefully shield up a Shadow Ball here, and if we do, then I'll have a lot of energy to go into the backline. They did store up a lot of energy on their Ampharos, which means that if they have enough energy to get to one move after we get to a move here, then I'm going to have to throw all of my energy as quickly as I can with our Shadow Charizard. We have no shields. What are they going to come in with? They come in with a Swampert here, which is a bit of a scary Pokemon to see, not only for our Shadow Charizard, but also for our Gliscor, and it's also a Pokemon I have to dump a lot of energy into here. I'm going to try to CMP them here on this Dragon Claw on their Hydro Cannon, because if I do, then they're going to waste a lot of energy. Maybe there's still play for us, but we don't actually get the CMP, but we instead get another Dragon Claw off, because they're kind of being greedy with their energy, it looks like. This Dragon Claw will put them pretty low. At this point, that's kind of fast move farm down range for either a Poliwrath or a Shadow Gliscor. In comes that Ampharos. At this point, I know they have a lot of energy. I know I'm going to have to fast move down that Swampert if I want any chance of winning this game, but I also know that a Hydro Cannon is going to knock us out, whether we're at the green health or in the red health. So I want to overfarm here, get up the back-to-back Aerial Aces, make it so that Swampert is going to have to throw energy against us immediately. They throw the Brutal Swing. We barely survive that, but we have the Aerial Ace loaded right now, which means that Swampert is going to have to throw energy if they want to knock us out. And if they do that, I think I can fast move them down with my Poliwrath or with my Charizard. They end up realizing they need back-to-back moves here. They overfarm just a little bit too much. We have the Aerial Ace loaded, and we knock out the Swampert there in the back. A very tricky team, just barely able to dance around it, even after a great catch by them. The next matchup, the Cresselia lead, one of the worst leads that we could see, but we have our Shadow Gliscor say swap, try our best to flip switch advantage or get some sort of advantage in our favor, and they try to catch a Night Slash on their Mandibuzz here. That's not what you want to see in general. Gliscor is a very strong Pokemon, but Mandibuzz is so bulky. I think they can survive 3 Aerial Aces and just guarantee this matchup without having to go down any resources, even after how much energy I got myself. They go for a Dark Pulse. It does a lot of damage. It puts us below half health. At this point, this is a very dire situation. I overfarm as much as I can, but I don't really know what I can do this game. That Cresselia swapped out with a lot of energy, and our Shadow Charizard does not want to take a Future Sight. Neither does our Poliwrath. This is going to be a very difficult matchup to overcome if we possibly can. We go for another Ace here. If we can get another Aerial Ace off here, there's a chance we can win this. If they go for a bait, if they don't go for the Dark Pulse, there is a chance we survive this move. They do bait us here. That is fantastic. We get the Aerial Ace through. If they end up shielding this attack, I could see a potential way to win this game. Are they going to shield? Are they going to let it go? They shield up that attack. That is fantastic for us. And then they hard swap back to Cresselia here. All right, so this matchup isn't looking amazing for us still. They have energy on that Mandibuzz. They have a lot of energy on this Cresselia, but we call a Grass Knot bait. What is happening this game? I don't even know. At this point, I'm going to shield up this Future Sight. I know they probably have it. If you're going to bait with a Grass Knot, that definitely means you have Future Sight on this thing. So we shield up that move properly here, and now we have a lot of energy on our Shadow Charizard. I'm one wing attack away from the next Blast Burn here. Are they going to shield this up, or are they just going to let this Cresselia go down? They end up letting that move through, and even though I could have thrown that Dragon Claw up first, I want to get as much energy as I can because I think Shadow Charizard is going to be very impactful in the endgame matchup. We shield yet another Future Sight here. Unfortunately, I don't think I can wing attack this down before I get to another attack. I'm going to go for these Dragon Claws, try to either draw that last shield or knock out this Cresselia. We've already seen 2 Pokemon very strong against our Poliwrath. I'm hoping that the third Pokemon is not going to be a hard answer for us in the backline. We go for another Dragon Claw against this Mandibuzz, but they end up shielding it. We try to get to another move here, but unfortunately for us, they waited a turn. They made sure that they could land this move against our Shadow Charizard, and now it's going to come down to what their third Pokemon is this game, and there is a Virizion. All right, this is the one Pokemon on our team that does not want to see this Virizion. Our Shadow Charizard could one-shot this, our Gliscor as well, but our Poliwrath, it still does have Icy Wind. There's a chance we can still maybe win this game. What we have to do is we have to get this thing to be farmed down and come out of this matchup with a move with either our Shadow Charizard or our Shadow Gliscor. There's a small chance that we can do that this game. It's going to be very tricky. I think our Gliscor is going to have to come in, try to chip this down as much as possible before we get farmed down. These wing attacks adding up so much. Can 2 wing attacks from Shadow Charizard knock out this Virizion? Just barely. They can. We have 1 HP. We have the Blast Burn loaded. Mandibuzz is going to be knocked out by this Blast Burn here from Shadow Charizard. Just barely able to close out the game on 1 HP. Absolutely crazy stuff. All right, the next game against a Steelix lead. It's been a while since we've had a good lead like that, but they instantly swap out to a very problematic Pokemon here, the Poliwrath. We obviously do have 2 flying-type Pokemon in the backline, but they have the ability to Icy Wind our Shadow Gliscor or Scald our Shadow Charizard and do a lot of damage to us there. So I want to make them be debuffed. I want to have them throw energy against our Poly, and then I want to swap out and start building some sort of advantage on our Flyers in the back. After they threw this move, I can clear that debuff, come in with our Shadow Charizard, and start building up energy to make it so I can have some sort of play against that Steelix in the back if they come back in with it, or play against their third if they happen to have another Pokemon that can handle our Shadow Charizard. We have a lot of energy here. I'm going to go for the Dragon Claw. They did get a nice Icy Wind bait off against us, unfortunately. It's Shadow Charizard. We still have a lot of damage here, even after that debuff. We get the knockout against that Poliwrath here with the Dragon Claw, and now in comes their third Pokemon. It is actually a Giratina. Obviously, Dragon Claw is not the best move in the game, and we are a reduced attack Charizard here, but these Dragon Claws are still going to add up. It does almost a third of this Giratina's health here. We have another Dragon Claw loaded. And this is just a Dragon Claw of their own here on their own Giratina, which means we survived that. If that was an Ancient Power, we'd be knocked out. But luckily, we do survive that move. We are almost at the next Dragon Claw as well. Are they going to shield this, or are they just going to let this go? They get shields down. They at least shield at least one move here, which is very nice to see, because now I can start Earthquaking or Scalding that Steelix, having a bit of an easier time taking it out later on. I can come in with my Gliscor. I want to keep energy if I can to make it so if that Steelix comes back in, I can go for the Earthquake. If they ever do swap that in, I want to get that shield down. Then I want to come in with my Poliwrath and hopefully win the game that way, because our Poliwrath is kind of chipped down, right? We took a lot of damage from their own Poliwrath in that lead matchup, but since they haven't thrown energy, since they haven't swapped out, I want to use this Earthquake to knock out this Giratina, and hopefully now that I've knocked this thing out, we'll have play with both our Poliwrath with a little bit of energy, and then also our Gliscor, which is very healthy still. So this Scald obviously does the most amount of damage. It can get a debuff as well. I just want to make sure that we can land this move if they happen to try to call an Icy Wind bait, which they do call, but luckily we do get the move through. It does a lot of damage, and they throw a Psychic Fangs here. I think at this point it's a little bit too little too late for them. I have the Icy Wind loaded, This is either going to knock them out or put them into range where air release will be enough to knock them out here, and I think they're just going to let this through. GG's to them. Very well played. All right, next game here against the Virizion in the lead. One of the most uncomfortable lead matchups that we could really see with this team, but we safe swap our Shadow Gliscor, and for some reason they're staying in here. That means they have two Pokemon in the back that are somehow weaker to our Gliscor than this Virizion is. They get a Leaf Blade chip against us before swapping out, and they come in with an Ampharos. What this likely means, in my opinion, is they are running double electric. This could be double electric or maybe like a Registeel in the back as well. If that is the case, then either we're going to have a lot of play with our Gliscor or maybe set up our Shadow Charizard later on in the game. They go for a Brutal Swing here. It does draw a shield, and since we did get a proper bait on the first time, I'm going to call that they're going to try to call my bait. I'm just going to go straight for the Earthquake and try to knock them out here, and they do let it through. We get the knockout against that Ampharos, a very tricky Pokemon for our team normally, just goes down like that. In comes their final Pokemon, and we see it is actually going to be double electric. Unfortunately for us, one of the trickiest Pokemon to see here, because they have so much play against not only our Poliwrath, but also our Shadow Charizard at this point. We don't quite get to that Earthquake, unfortunately. We go for the air release, get some sort of chip damage against them, and they will farm us down. They have so much energy, but Tapu Koko is such a squishy Pokemon here. I think we might have a little bit of play, even with the bad situation that we are in. We know Shield of Nature's Madness just barely survived that, and look how much damage we are doing with just fast attacks with our Shadow Charizard and with our Poliwrath. I know they're out of move here, but I don't think that we're in too bad of a spot, honestly, at this point. If they come back in with that Virizion, I need to blast from them to knock them out. I don't want to take a Sacred Sword or a Leaf Blade here, so just go for this move and make it so hopefully I can either get to a Dragon Claw against that Tapu Koko, or maybe just farm them down with our Poliwrath here this game. They end up throwing energy. Is this farm down range? Is this counter down range for a Poliwrath? We're just going to have to wait and see. Poly is going to have a lot of work to do this game. 1, 2, 3 counters, knocks out the Tapu Koko before they can knock us out. GG's to them. That was a very tricky team to try to deal with, but the double electric team with Virizion in the lead was very weak to our Shadow Gliscor. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. I stream Pokemon Go PvP nearly every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, so if you want to see this kind of content live, make sure to check me out there. Also, I'm going to upload a lot more to the channel, so if you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe. Alright, well, thank you again for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.